Hello everyone, and welcome back to the English Club, your go-to place to learn and grow through inspiring stories and powerful ideas in simple English. In today's lesson, we're diving into a beautiful and transformative book called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. This book has touched the hearts of millions of people around the world, and today, we're going to explore its wisdom in a smooth, easy-to-understand narration. So, sit back, relax, and let the words guide you to a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. And remember, listening to this narration is a great way to improve your English while also improving your life. Let's begin. This book, The Four Agreements, is based on ancient Toltec wisdom. The Toltecs were a group of people who lived in Mexico hundreds of years ago. They were known for their deep spiritual knowledge and understanding of human life. Don Miguel Ruiz, the author of this book, brings that ancient wisdom into the modern world. He helps us see how we are often trapped in our own minds, in our beliefs, in our fears, and how we can break free by making just four simple agreements with ourselves. When we are born, we don't have beliefs. We are free, joyful, and full of love. But as we grow up, we start to learn things from the people around us, our parents, teachers, society, religion. They teach us what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad, what we should be and how we should behave. This process is called domestication. It is similar to how animals are trained to behave a certain way. We are trained too, not with rewards and punishments in the same way as animals, but with praise, blame, acceptance, and rejection. Because of this domestication, we begin to live not according to who we truly are, but according to who others want us to be. We start to create an image of ourselves that we try to protect. We wear masks. We hide our true feelings. We try to please others. And little by little, we lose our true self. We create a book of law in our mind. This book tells us how the world is, how we should act, what we should believe. But here's the problem. Many of the rules in this book are not true. They are lies. They are agreements we made with society, with other people, even with ourselves, without really thinking about them. For example, maybe you believe you are not smart. Maybe someone told you that when you were young and you agreed. From that moment on, you carried that belief inside you. Even if it's not true, it becomes part of your reality. It limits you. It stops you from trying new things or believing in yourself. So, what can we do? The answer, according to Don Miguel Ruiz, is to make new agreements. Agreements that are based on truth, love, and freedom. He offers four powerful agreements that can help us change our lives. These agreements are simple, but they are not always easy. They require practice. They require awareness. But if you follow them, your life can be full of joy, peace, and freedom. Before we talk about the agreements themselves, let's understand how powerful our words are. Ruiz explains that the word is like a spell. It can create beauty or it can create destruction. With your word, you can uplift someone, or you can destroy their confidence. And this is where the first agreement begins, being careful with your word. Words are powerful. Don Miguel Ruiz explains that the word is not just a sound or a symbol, it is your creative force. What you say shapes your reality. What others say to you can become your beliefs. If someone tells you, you're not good enough, and you believe it, that belief becomes a part of your identity. It becomes an agreement. You accepted that idea as truth, even though it might not be true at all. So imagine what happens when you speak carelessly, when you lie, when you gossip, when you speak negatively to others or to yourself. You are planting seeds of poison. You may not even realize it, but your words can deeply affect the lives of others. And more importantly, they can deeply affect you. But imagine the opposite. Imagine if you spoke with love, honesty, and kindness. If your words always reflected truth. If you only said what you really meant. This would create a life full of harmony and trust. That is what Ruiz encourages us to do, to be careful and conscious with what we say. When you speak truthfully and positively, you create beauty inside yourself and in the world around you. This understanding of words is essential because so much of our suffering comes from things people have said, things we believed without question. Think back. Can you remember a time when someone said something that hurt you deeply? Maybe it was years ago, and still it stays with you. That is the power of words. But now, knowing this, you have a choice. You can stop that cycle. You can begin to use your words differently. Not to harm, but to heal. Not to lie, but to express who you really are. Ruiz then leads us to the next important idea: how we take things personally. This is something we all do. Someone criticizes you, you feel hurt. Someone ignores you, you feel rejected. Someone gets angry, you feel responsible. We carry the weight of other people's opinions as if they are truth. But Ruiz gently teaches us something liberating. What others say and do is not about you. It's about them. Think about that for a moment. Everyone sees the world through their own eyes, shaped by their own experiences, fears, and beliefs. When someone is angry, it's often because of their own pain. When someone judges you, it's because of their own ideas. You are not the reason for their emotions, even if it feels that way. When you stop taking things personally, something amazing happens. You become free. Free from needing approval. Free from emotional wounds. You no longer carry other people's baggage. You begin to live with more peace. You respond with calmness, instead of reacting with anger or sadness. This doesn't mean you don't care. It simply means you don't let other people's stories become your truth. You understand where they're coming from, but you don't let their judgments define your self-worth. Another common habit that Ruiz talks about is assumptions. We make assumptions all the time. We assume what others are thinking. We assume why someone did something. We assume how things will turn out. And often, we assume the worst. These assumptions can create fear, misunderstanding, and unnecessary conflict. For example, imagine a friend doesn't reply to your message. You might assume they're upset with you. You start to feel anxious or hurt. But the truth might be something simple. They were busy, or they didn't see the message. The assumption creates pain that was never necessary. Ruiz teaches us to be brave enough to ask questions, to speak clearly, to seek the truth instead of assuming. If you don't understand something, ask. If something bothers you, speak about it. If you're unsure, clarify. This way, you avoid confusion and build relationships based on truth and trust, not on fear and guesswork. Finally, Ruiz shares something simple but incredibly powerful. Always do your best. Not more, not less. Just your best, in every moment. Your best will not always be the same. Some days you will feel full of energy, some days you'll be tired. Your best will change depending on how you feel, where you are, and what you're facing. But if you always do your best, you will not judge yourself. You will not feel regret. You will not feel guilt or shame. Doing your best means showing up with sincerity, with presence, and with intention. It doesn't mean being perfect. It doesn't mean comparing yourself to others. It simply means giving what you can give, being fully alive in the moment, and trusting that is enough. When you combine these ideas, using your words with care, not taking things personally, not making assumptions, and doing your best, your life begins to change. Not from the outside, but from the inside. You feel lighter. You feel more in control of your emotions. You feel more connected to yourself and others. Ruiz doesn't say the path will be easy. In fact, he says breaking old agreements can be very difficult. You might fall into old habits. You might catch yourself gossiping or taking things personally or making assumptions. But the point is not to be perfect. The point is to become aware. And every time you become aware, you have the power to choose again. This is a path of personal freedom, a path of love, and it begins with awareness. Now, let's go deeper. Ruiz explains that we live in a kind of dream, a dream that was created for us. This dream is made of rules, beliefs, judgments, fears, and expectations. We did not choose this dream. It was given to us when we were very young. And because we didn't know any better, we agreed to it. We accepted those rules and believed they were true. That's why it feels so real. But it's not the truth. It's just a story. Imagine waking up from that dream and realizing that you have the power to create a new one. A dream where you are free to be yourself. Where your life is full of love, peace, and happiness. Not because the world outside changed, but because your inner world transformed. That is the message of this book. You can wake up. You can break the old agreements and replace them with new ones that reflect your true self. To do this, you must become a spiritual warrior. Not a warrior who fights with violence, but a warrior who has courage. Courage to face fear. Courage to question beliefs. Courage to be honest. Courage to love. This kind of strength doesn't come from the outside. It comes from within, from awareness. As you begin to make these 4 agreements, to be impeccable with your word, to not take things personally, to not make assumptions, and to always do your best, you will notice that your mind begins to change. The voices that used to criticize you become quieter. The doubts that used to hold you back lose their power. You begin to feel lighter, freer, more at peace. But you will also face resistance. That's normal. The old agreements are strong. They've been with you for many years. They are comfortable, even if they bring pain. The mind will want to go back to them. You might hear a voice inside say, "It's too hard," or "I can't do this," or "Nothing will change." But that voice is not your true self. It is the voice of fear. And every time you hear it, you have a choice. Believe it or question it. You might fall. You might forget. You might make mistakes. That's okay. The path to freedom is not straight or perfect. What matters is that you keep going, that you stay aware, that you come back to the agreements again and again until they become natural. Let's take a moment to talk more deeply about what it means to not take things personally. When someone says something unkind to you, it's easy to feel hurt. But Ruiz says, what they say is about them, not about you. Maybe they are angry. Maybe they are sad. Maybe they are afraid. Their words come from their own dream, not yours. If you believe what they say, you accept their poison. You make an agreement that their opinion is the truth. And then you suffer. But if you don't take it personally, the poison has no power. You see their words for what they are, a reflection of their own inner world. And you stay free. This is not only true for criticism. It's also true for praise. If someone calls you amazing and you believe it deeply, then when someone calls you terrible, it will also affect you just as deeply. You become controlled by other people's opinions. Ruiz encourages you to go beyond both praise and criticism and to find your truth inside yourself. When you know who you are, no one else can define you. The same is true for assumptions. Think about how many arguments, misunderstandings, and broken relationships come from assumptions. One person assumes the other meant something hurtful. Another assumes they are being ignored. We assume someone doesn't care, or someone is upset, or someone is thinking something bad about us, and none of it might be true. But the assumption creates pain. Ruiz tells us, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to speak. Clear communication is an act of love. When you ask, you understand. When you clarify, you connect. Assumptions create distance. Truth brings closeness. So, whenever you catch yourself guessing, pause. Ask. Confirm. And most of all, listen. And what about doing your best? This agreement is like the glue that holds the others together. If you do your best to use your words with love, to not take things personally, to not assume, then you will grow. You will heal. You will change. Doing your best is not about perfection. It's not about always being happy or successful. It's about honesty, sincerity, showing up with all of who you are. It's about doing your best in each moment, even if that best looks different each day. Some days, your best will be full of energy. Other days, your best will be gentle and quiet. Both are okay. What matters is the effort, the intention. And when you do your best, there is no room for regret. You know you gave what you could. You know you lived with integrity. This is one of the most loving things you can do for yourself. To stop judging. To stop punishing yourself. Ruiz says we are often our own worst enemy. We say things to ourselves that we would never say to a friend. We are hard, critical, unforgiving. But when you make these new agreements, you begin to treat yourself differently. With kindness, with compassion, with respect. You stop being a victim. You stop being a judge. You become a master of your own mind, your own words, your own life. And over time, something magical happens. You begin to feel lighter, more alive, more free. Not because the world outside changed, but because you changed your relationship with yourself. You begin to wake up from the old dream and step into a new one that you chose. One that is filled with truth, love, and peace. Thank you so much for joining me here on the English Club. I hope this journey through the 4 agreements has opened your heart and mind to new possibilities, both in your personal life and in your English learning. Remember, transformation takes time, and understanding comes little by little as you practice and reflect. If you found this narration helpful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the English Club for more powerful lessons in simple English. Until next time, take care of yourself, be kind to your thoughts, and remember, you have the power to change your life.
See you soon.